All right, welcome. This is our second episode of Camping with the Pups. We're coming to you live from Orlando, Florida. Again, I'm Brian,
I'm Daniela.
and we wanted to give you some camping tips and tricks and talk about camping in Orlando as well. And with that, let's talk a little bit. This isn't our first time in Orlando. It's not even our first time camping in Orlando, but we are at this particular campsite for the first time. So, our last year, we stayed at Winter Garden RV Resort, part of the Encore Thousand Trails. And this year we are at Thousand Trails Orlando. So, with that, we did a video tour of Winter Garden, and it's posted on our channel here. But, Daniel, why don't you talk a little bit about your impressions of Winter Garden, and then we'll get over to Orlando
Uh,
here.
well, Winter Garden was definitely in the center of town, so you were definitely near everything: restaurants, grocery stores, and ironically, there were two RV centers right across the street, right next door to each other. So, if you wanted to change and upgrade your RV, walk across the street. There you go. But it was actually really nice. Despite being in the center of town, where we were located, it was actually really nice. For anybody who likes to get their church on Sundays, we weren't that far. We were probably within a mile of a few churches. I actually found one, a Methodist church not too far from there, that I really liked. I was able to visit there twice, and I could actually see myself being a member of that church had we stayed there longer or moved to that area. But it was overall, I thought Winter Garden was like really nice. We happened to get lucky that the our lot in front of us never got taken, so it looked like we had like a big front yard. This was unfortunately before we got the fences for the pups, but it kind of, if we had the fences, we would have been able to have the fences out in front of us with no problem. So, but I like the feel of Winter Garden. I like the way the community was like really super nice. Everybody was very friendly as they were walking by. Um, the pups, everybody was really respectful with their pups. We'd go down to the dog park. As long as the pups were okay with each other, we could keep the pups in the same time. Or if one was not okay, we would allow the pup to leave, or vice versa. They would allow us to leave so that we could, you know, have less hostile interactions between the pups. But I thought Winter Garden was really nice once we got settled in and got used to the area. I didn't get an opportunity to use the fitness center. I kind of wish I did. Did get to use the pool a couple of times, uh, but overall, I thought it was pretty good. What
Mm-hmm.
did you think?
I think so. It was right in the middle of town, so it's a smaller campground. Probably what, about 100 sites or so, maybe a
Ish,
little over on
ish,
there.
give or take.
Um, and you did have your long-term camping there, but you literally were surrounded on all sides by your main roads. Now, if you're ever coming to Orlando, there's no shortage of campgrounds. The Thousand Trails and Encore alone have five right in the Orlando area here. So there's the 1,000 Trails that we're at right now, and about four in the Encore, which is part of there. Encore is real big in your sunny areas, like down in Florida and along the coast. So, but you have a ton of campgrounds outside of that system too, all around here. People think of the Midwest when you think of the RV um, world, because a lot of the manufacturing's out there and you got tech stuff like that. But Florida is really big on RV. So all across Florida, you have a lot of RV sites there. So it was a nice little thing. It was hit or miss on what size slot you got when you were over there. You have some small ones, you had some larger, you had pads, not. But if you want to see more on that, we do have in our campground reviews playlist here the full tour of Winter Garden. Now, with that, let's bring you to where we are now. We are in Claremont, Florida, which it has the Thousand Trails Orlando, and this is a very large campground. Probably the biggest one we've been on so far.
Yeah, I think so.
And
I think so.
and Daniela hasn't even been back yet to where the lake and pier and dog park is there. The nice thing about being up here is we're allowed to set up how we want. So we have the dog fence up for when we let the pups out. Of course, being responsible puppy parents, don't leave them unattended. So we come out, or I'll be right by the door if I'm working with the door open so that we can monitor them. But it makes it nice to be able to open and not have to worry about them trying to pull you out the door with the leash, like in some
Yes.
places.
Yes.
So we can get them out, get them on there. This is the type where you select your site when you show up. So drive around, find the site you want. Daniela here did a really good job of finding our site. We have a large tree that kind of goes over and creates shade. The other day I was working out here, and wasn't until about 3 or so in the afternoon that I even have to had the awning out because the tree was providing enough shade for us on there. And we do have a canopy, but it's nice to have that aspect. One thing is they are doing some expansion and construction here. So the brand new sites that are just constructed, you can't put anything on the grass. So you have to be completely contained on the concrete pad, which is one of the reasons why we chose the older area, because you can expand within your site whatever you want here. And that might be because since it is, they're still constructing some of the pads up there, so the grass and stuff's probably brand new. They got to let it, take root and
Yeah.
everything. I don't know what will happen in the future if they want to just keep it that way, or if that will change. But you have a lot of features here too. You have a lot of, since this is well spread out. The thumbnail, you see kind of a picture of a little snippet of the site, but you have the rec center and pool. The pool complex is 2 full-size pools
Yes.
and a hot tub, as well as plenty of sun
And a
deck
kiddie pool.
and a kiddie pool
And a kiddie pool.
as well.
Important. Very important.
The rec center has a little kitchen in there. Summer in Florida is technically the off season, so it's quieter here. Their hours are a little shorter because it's their off season. Those of you that RV full time, you've heard the term snowbirds. That's a term for those who aren't used to RV, that people that follow the sun with the RV. So they go south in the winter, just like birds that flock to the south and then go more north in the summer. That has a lot to do with the way RVs can maintain temperature. They aren't always the best insulated, so you have a lot of stuff with extreme heat or extreme cold on there. So they're on wheels, so you can move. I know a lot of people that do camp in the snow or cold, or come down here like us, or crazy enough like we are to come down in the middle of the summer on here. The nice thing I like about a large one like this is the older campground section 2 is all the sites are much larger.
Yes.
You really have a lot of space outside of your camper itself. So that's been nice to kind of be able to set up a little bit on there.
When your permanent residence has an acre of yard, and you can actually breathe, finding a large RV site is very comparable. You kind of you want to think about, oh, do I really want to walk out, or basically fall out of your RV into your neighbor's RV. And we have seen, some of the, when we start looking at where we're going to stay, and we've seen some of the sites, and we see the pictures, and we see like 3 or 4 RVs, and they look like they're almost side by side, like barely any breathing room. Like if you sneeze, you're going to sneeze on them. That's how close they appear to be. Whether they actually are or not, maybe the pictures have distorted it a little bit, but it gives it the impression that you're kind of like, "Ugh."
That was one thing when we were at Winter Garden is even though the corner site right in front of us wasn't occupied, so it looked like we had more of a yard, putting out the slide on the driver's side, almost just bringing this in, we were within our site, but bringing this slide out almost put the slide on top of the picnic table for the one next to us
Yes,
because it was so tight.
it was
There
a
were
very,
some slots on that campsite that were bigger, but we came in after hours and got a sign. That was one thing that Winter Garden did was if you came in after hours, you didn't pick your slide, you were assigned it. Here,
and
you still pick your site at the Orlando one,
yeah.
Thousand Trail. So
We discussed when we were in Winter Garden. We actually, after we kind of walked around with the pups and everything, and got an idea of what was around and what sites actually did look a lot bigger. We did discuss whether we wanted to move or not, and I opted to stay because we had a palm tree.
hmm
We had a palm tree. None of the other sites really had palm trees. Um, so that was my deciding factor, was that I had a palm tree on my site.
and the rec center here is fairly big. It's got a store in there
Oh,
for
very
your camping
huge.
supply, few camping supplies, few odds and ends, drinks, snacks, sundries if you ran out of stuff. Um, but the rec center itself is like a big dance hall almost size, with tables and stuff like that. And they do allow you to bring mail. They do a processing fee if they're accepting packages for you. But this is a very large site. Because of that, they do allow you to change sites the day after you check in. You might check in, grab your site, make sure you're set, and then as you're traveling around the next day, you're like, "Oh, this is a better site." You can change the next day, only the next day, at no charge, or you can change later, but there's a charge for that. So it is gated community, so you do check that. And they do have like a lot of more RV parks, especially the bigger ones have now. They have the cottages that you can rent, and of course, they have a lot of annual and long term
Hmm.
sites as well on here. But this also one of the things I noticed they have a community garden, which obviously would be more geared towards your long term, not someone that's just sitting for a week or so. But they do have a lot of people that are, I would say, almost living here, if not year round, at least like 6 months and stuff like that. We ran into several people that are
Yeah,
here for about 6 months
yeah.
on there. They do one thing that was unique when we first got here is in the parking lot for the rec center. They did have food truck, and they rotate.
Oh,
They
yeah.
have the different types of food truck that are there a specific night of the week.
Yes.
And for example, Friday they had a little farmers market truck set up with produce. And speaking of farmers market, that's a big thing around here in Orlando too.
Yeah. On Fridays, right down the road from where we are currently staying, there's a shopping center, and they do Friday. They do a Friday farmers market during the summer, and they have their hours listed. I think you're going to post the picture that we got of
Yeah,
it.
we'll post in the comments here as well.
Yeah, so they have their summer hours of when they're going to be there. Didn't get a chance to go check it out. We were in the process of going somewhere else. I think we were going for lunch or something when
Yeah.
we ran. Yeah, we were on our way to lunch, so we didn't get an opportunity to do that. So this has been a very interesting trip. We're trying to catch up with all our Florida peeps, and um, it's just
We got
it's a
roll
roll the
the dice,
dice.
yeah. And we've got several in Orlando. So like I said, this isn't our first time down here, but trying to catch up with everyone. Matter of fact, we're catching up with some friends later today and also tomorrow.
Hopefully later today.
Hopefully later today.
Hopefully later
Okay.
today.
But to round out the activities here, large running trail, if you will. They have markers along the route of the road for how the trail goes. They got mini golf here, pickleball,
Tennis,
tennis,
basketball.
basketball. They
They've
got a
got
half court.
two.
Yeah.
They've got two courts. One looks like it's a little bit smaller of a half court, and then the other one actually looked like a full size half
Mhm.
court. They got a fitness center. Like I said, their pool, the playground, the tennis court, basketball court, mini golf are all centrally located.
Hmm.
So that is a really big, huge plus. It's very, very huge.
And a few spread out of the little doggy cleanup centers for you to drop
Oh yeah,
the poop stuff as you
that's always
walk them.
important.
So that's always good.
Yeah.
Their trash, since it's such a big site, you take up to a trash compactor.
Yeah, they don't pick up here.
Yeah.
So,
but that's expected because this is a huge campsite.
I did run it. We did run into somebody when they were out running one morning, and she said that as she was running, she said that running wise, it's like 6 miles. So you can imagine that it's if it's 6 miles running, that kind of gives you an idea of just how big this place is. I mean, we've only walked probably maybe a fourth,
If that.
if
Yeah.
of
I
this.
drove around a little more when we got here. Danielle stayed with the camper and the pups when we first got, and I took our Jeep and drove around to kind of scope out site. And that's kind of how large the site is. They do have down by the water. There's a little pier and lake, and that's where the dog park is. They have That's what they call their wooded area. So some of those sites, I'm gonna bring her down later to see. Some of those sites, literally, you have foliage over the whole site where you backed in and stuff like that.
And they have on their maps, they have like about 4 or 5 little mini pond areas
Hmm.
with all the little signs. Don't feed the gators.
Yeah, you are in Florida,
So,
so
um, and with Maggie has no problem going in the water. Maggie has no problem going in the water, so we have to make sure that we definitely keep her away from the water edges and things of that nature. Jackson will kind of like look at it and like, no, I'm okay, I'm good. But Maggie, we have to make sure that we definitely
yeah.
keep her away from the water edges.
Maggie, for those of you that aren't familiar with it, Maggie's our rescue. So she's lived on her own out there before we adopted her. So, and Jackson came directly to us from a friend of Daniela's who had a litter on there. So, not her, the dog had a litter, obviously. But there's a lot of activities here too. They have an activity calendar with movie nights. We actually participated in a yard sale yesterday.
Oh yeah.
We didn't know that they had that until we got here. There's stuff that's run by even the residents here. There's Texas Hold'em every week. And then there's stuff that's not on the calendar. So check in. Where I was going up, I think it was Thursday, up to the rec center in the morning, and they had the TV in that big hall and people doing aerobics and stuff like that. So they have a lot of different things happening on site.
And they even have a walking club.
Yeah.
They even have
So they have a lot you can do if you just want to camp and chill on site. But off site, we are in Orlando. So there's a lot of things to do in Orlando if you're down camping. Of course, there's what Orlando is famous for, which is the theme parks. We have Disney has Magic Kingdom, Epcot, Animal Kingdom, Hollywood Studios, which I probably won't get to this year, but I guess next year we'll get to. They've added that Star Wars area, which I'm a big Star Wars fan. I want to see the whole thing. I haven't been there since they've opened that up, but and Epcot's nice too because they have cultural, all the different countries around the lake that they have there.
We are really not that far from Disney. Just to give you an idea. So every night, same night, every time we hear the fireworks going off. The first night we had to kind of like sit back and kind of think about what was going on, and then we're like, oh, it's the fireworks, because then we heard the finale going off, and then we're like, okay, yeah. So it kind of it took us back for a second to try to figure out, okay, what's going on?
Is that thunder?
Is that
storm?
Is
Because
that thunder?
storms come through Florida. Normally
Yeah.
they're quick, but they do come through. It's normally afternoon, not night. But I mean, just like anywhere, they can have overnight thunderstorms and stuff. So, but you get the right angle, and you can almost see some of the fireworks too.
Oh yeah, you kind of
through the trees.
You kind of have to stand when there's no traffic, because we do get a little. We're kind of not too busy here, but if you stand in the middle of the road And if you're looking off, I'm gonna assume that we're facing west. I think if you're facing west at the
Hmm.
right spot, you will see, you know, a little bit of the fireworks peeking through the trees and stuff like that. And then it's kind of cool to hear the finale going off. Uh, so
And then one of their competitors for Disney, talking about the three main um, theme park groups, because all of them have multiple theme parks, is Universal. You have the regular Universal Studios. You have Islands of Adventure. There, you kind of go in through the same area called City Walk. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But you have both of those. With Harry Potter area, they actually have a Hogwarts Express, which is a train that goes between the two. You do have to have the park hopper to be able to
that
go
is
to
really
both
cool.
on
That is
there. But
really cool.
it is cool because one is taking you from the London area. You get on the actual train area, 9 3/4 platform. Get on the train, and there's actually a video screen at your windows for your cabin that has a whole little show happening as you're going from there to the Hogwarts. And if you get on the train going back, there's a totally different story video going because it's going from Hogwarts back to London.
Yeah.
So,
And you know, speaking of 9 3/4, as you're as you're pulling into Thousand Trails, that big long road, right as you get closer, all of a sudden the speed limit drops down to 9 3/4.
yeah, it's speed limit's 10 miles an hour on the campground, 5 miles an hour back where the woods is because it gets much darker back there, and everything stuff can pop out at you easier. But yeah, it was kind of humorous when we got close to the gate and it had the 9 3/4 for the speed limit.
And apparently, this area, I guess, is considered a preserve as well. So I've been out here a couple times, and we've had. I'm not quite sure what type of crane bird it is, but we've had some cranes walk by, and since we have
Yeah.
the pet fence up, I guess they're people watching.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, you know, instead of us going to watch animals, they're people watching because we're sitting inside the cage.
Yep. They're good 4.5 feet
Oh my
or
goodness, they're
so
very, very
standing.
tall,
Yeah.
very, very tall. They're like all over the place. I've gotten various pictures, and I've kind of been taking a play on words, um, because up in, you know, Montana, it's tourist season and it's buffalo tossing tourist season. So I've been taking a play on words and saying, you know, no animals were hurt during this, or you
Yeah.
know, no peoples were pecked. So
those of you that are out there, I mean, I know we're talking Orlando, but if you're up there, no petting the fluffy cows.
yeah,
Okay.
please don't pet the fluffy cows.
So Universal has those. They're actually opening a new Universal Park next year too, called it's Ultimate Universal or Universal Experience or something. But they're going to actually have themed immersion areas similar to like what Disney did on some things, you know.
Okay.
But we'll be interesting to see what that is there. And then of course SeaWorld,
Oh yes.
which we do often. We actually SeaWorld owns a number of parks, not just here, but I think there's one or two in Texas. There's a couple they own back home with us in Virginia. So we have a membership to there because there's a water park in Busch Gardens. If you didn't know, Busch Gardens is part of SeaWorld. And we're actually going to be going to their water park down here, which is Aquatica, after our broadcast. So we'll be heading over there. And they also have SeaWorld itself and Discovery Cove, which we went to when we got down here last Wednesday. We got down here Tuesday, but we went there Wednesday. And that's nice because they limit, it's a little pricey, but they limit the amount of people that can come in a day, and you're interacting with the animals.
Mm-hmm.
So it has a lazy river, everything's saltwater. It has a lazy river, it has a lagoon where you can snorkel. We got a lot of good video. We'll kind of post clips later of swimming around with the fish and stingrays and stuff like that. They do have shark. It's behind a glass. So you aren't swimming with them. They do have an experience where they'll take you somewhere around with it with scuba type thing, but we didn't do that. The one thing we did do, which we love, is the dolphin encounter. And you want to talk a little bit about what's like being in the water with the dolphins and swimming with them?
I absolutely love it. We've been down to Discovery Cove twice, and both times we've been able to swim with the dolphins. It's really nice. It's limiting, but it's very nice. So they do everything they can to keep you and the dolphins both safe. So they will let the dolphins kind of swim by you to make sure that you get the opportunity to actually pet the dolphins, and they tell you where you can and cannot pet. The blowhole being one of them, because realistically that's their mouth and their nose, as far as they're being able to breathe. So you want to be safe when you are interacting with the dolphins. I love the fact that we get to take pictures, getting a kiss from the dolphin, yay, hugging the dolphin, yay, and then best part, swimming with the dolphin, yay. That's my favorite part, is being able to swim with the dolphin. And I try really hard to make sure that I'm being very respectful of the dolphins and stuff like that. And the very first time as I was coming around, I couldn't get my footing on the rock, and I felt kind of bad because I felt like I was pushing on the dolphin, and they're like, "Oh no, you're okay. The dolphin can handle it." And I'm like, "But I don't want to hurt the dolphin." But it was a very fun experience. We had like what, 4 or 5 kids in our group, I think,
Yeah,
something like that. We had like 4 or 5, and the kids just absolutely
there's
loved it.
like between 7 and 9 total in a group,
Yeah,
but that
and
was a good half, about 4 or so
yeah,
kids.
and I'll tell you one thing. I'm not quite sure who was more excited about the dolphin interaction, the kids or me, because I'm like, yay, and they were like, yay. So but they really had a good time.
Yeah.
They really had a good
So
time.
if you get a chance, like I said, it's a little costly, but it's no more than a theme park is, and you get the whole day, food and drinks included. They do
If
have a
you get the
premium package
Yeah,
if you want to get the more mixed drinks and stuff like that. But the premium package, if you're doing that, was like $45.
yeah, it's not too bad.
So it wasn't
They
too bad, and it's the whole day. They close at 5, but they open at like 7:30. So you get breakfast and lunch, snacks. They got a little pizza thing,
Yeah,
everything you'd want on there. So
and
it's a good day, even though on our day it rained.
oh yeah,
But the good thing is you're at a water park,
it's.
so
I always find it hilarious. Both times that we've been down here, or a couple times that we've been down here, we've been at the water park, and the showers are, like, for the most part, very quick, maybe anywhere from 3 to no more than 7, maybe 8 minutes of showers, if that long.
mhm.
But it's funny to be in a water park or a water themed area, and people are running for cover.
Mhm.
You're
And
already at a water park. You're already getting wet.
yeah, and it rains enough here in Orlando for short periods of time that they don't shut down water park for rain. The only time they do is if there's lightning within, I think,
A few miles.
like 30 miles or something.
Yeah,
Um,
thunder.
then they'll close the water areas until lightning has been more than 30 miles away, leaving for like 15 minutes. Then they open back up. And talking about water parks, there are at least 7 water parks here. Most of them are owned by the other theme parks like Disney, Universal, SeaWorld.
Mhm.
But we did see one here that's a big one that's independent called H2O Live.
Yes.
And they've got all the slides and stuff like that. So there's a lot to do if you want to do
Yeah,
water
we the
sporting.
both unfortunately, it's hard to tell if they're actually open, because both times that we've driven by, we've not seen a whole lot of
Activity.
activity.
But the last time when we drove back home after dinner yesterday, there were people up on the slides and stuff. So
Yeah.
it
So
was going.
I would
Mhm.
call and check to see if they're open.
And then for the kids, there's another, well, for some of the adults too, there's another theme park in town called Legoland. And so it does have little rides and roller coasters like that, but it's all Lego themed. So I heard that's very popular. And of course, a staple here in Orlando, has been here forever, is a place called Gatorland,
Yeah.
where you can learn about the alligators, watch, alligator wrestling. Um, and all that. And that's actually got quite a history back to the tribes, I think, doesn't it?
Yes, yes. The Seminoles down here are very very big on history, and respecting the Gators, and showing how they interact with the Gators. I don't know if the Seminoles are part of Gatorland or if they have their own. I know further south in the swamplands they do have their own interactive area.
Yeah, I don't know, but I thought years and years ago, some of your more famous alligator wrestlers were Seminole.
I really wish I could remember his name. I think it was James Billy.
Hmm.
I would have to seriously, if I got it wrong, please forgive me. It's been a while, but I think it was James Billy. If anybody wants to
Yeah,
uh,
if you know
correct me,
different, put in the comments.
yes, please. I really think it was James Billy, but
But
I
a
could be
lot
wrong.
of the culture, especially down in the Everglades, stuff like that, part of survival and was actually just like we hunt deer up here. They actually had techniques to take care of gator and stuff like that
Oh yeah.
down there as well.
I've actually seen a few documentaries on how they're even showing the little ones how to properly hunt and hunt gators when necessary,
Hmm.
not for
It's not sport.
not for
That's
sport.
one thing is the native community. They don't do anything as far as animal hunting for sport.
Yeah,
They utilize everything on there, and so it's a matter of what's local. So it makes sense for gators in Florida.
yeah.
On that. So.
One of the things that we unfortunately missed yesterday, because we found out about it late, was the mascot games.
Hmm.
Oh my goodness. We were sitting at the yard sale and Brian was going, scrolling through trying to see what other things that would be up on the screen that we could talk about. And he saw that the mascot games were going on yesterday. And so he went to check to see if there were any tickets available so that if we had time, we could go and check out the mascot games. And they were sold out. They were sold out. And I don't know if anybody is familiar what the mascot games are. What the mascot games are the local professional and college
Actually,
mascots.
nationwide too.
Yeah,
A
it's
lot more
nature.
college than professional. There's a few of the professional sports, um, like a couple of NFL, NBA. There's
Yeah,
some of
yeah,
those,
all
but a
the
lot of the college ones
yeah,
too. Yeah,
most of them have been college. And we when we were here with the kids a while back, we got tickets and we went,
yeah.
and
It was absolute blast.
it
It
was
was pre-COVID, and so that's
oh
why I was looking up to see are they still doing it,
yeah,
and they are again. But and the nice thing about that is they actually get the mascots for all these different teams to kind of do um, gladiator game type stuff or different
oh yeah, it was
competitions and teams, and they always do it for charity.
yes.
So all the proceeds go to a charity, and it's hilarious to watch. It's fun. We enjoyed it when we saw
The
them last time.
One of the things that I liked about it was when they're split up into like four teams, and they use the basic colors, the red team, the blue team, the green team, the yellow team. And as the teams were coming out, each one had its own very unique way of introducing themselves. I could not remember which team, but one of the teams came out and they all acted like they were rushing out and they were being stopped by one of the teams because there was an imaginary line that they were
People
all
trip over,
tripping over. So they're all like come running out, and then all of a sudden they're just like falling on top of each other. And the last one's like looking,
runs up, looks,
run,
and steps
and then
over.
steps
Yeah,
over. And they just did like a whole bunch of things. The Florida Gators have the Mr. and Mrs. Gator, I believe. And as one of the games was they had to run across a beam. And to be honest with you, I'm like, hats off to you guys that are in the mascots, because I don't even know how you can safely move and do everything. But they had to run across the beam, and of course you're getting hit by the pogo sticks and everything. And the Mrs. Gator was running across, and one of the other team members, not that team, but an opposing team, refused to allow the Mrs. Gator to be hit. he kept running up and stopping everybody, and so she went all the way across. So I thought that was kind of cool. That let's be respectful of the female. And then
Yeah.
of course the college cats. I wish I could remember who all the cats were, but I know Auburn was one of them. But there were three cats that were running around, and of course they were holding on to each tail as they were walking around in a circle, kind of chasing their tails.
Hmm.
So
So that's a fun thing. That normally happens in the summer. Obviously, it's June here, but you can always double check. They have their own Facebook page as well. Um, and then being in Orlando, you're centrally located. So we'll get into some of the Orlando activities in a moment, but some of the stuff we've seen outside of Orlando is literally it's on your going during rush hour. You have about 45 minutes to an hour out to Tampa
hmm
and the beaches there. We did that last time we were down here. We actually stayed in Tampa during our trips this time, but last time when we stayed at Winter Garden, we went out there. But also, you go to the East Coast and you get out to Cocoa Beach, which is where Cape Canaveral and the Kennedy Space Center is.
oh yes.
And if you ever get a chance to tour the Kennedy Space Center, I highly recommend it. We went out when our daughter was still in high school, and she was real big into science and all that as well. So I enjoyed it too. And all the different things you can see out there exhibit. They actually have one of the I forget what number it is, but it's the rocket that actually launched the earlier like Apollo and stuff like that.
hmm
And one of the centers along this top ceiling, and that thing, seeing it horizontal like that and how huge it is truly awestruck. You could literally in one of the five jets stand like a couple of you on each other's shoulders and still not make the whole width
Yeah,
of that thing. So
we'll have to plan that out the next time we come down here.
go back out there
Yeah.
again. Yeah. I was lucky enough several years ago to see when the space shuttle was still launching, to see it launch from Orlando. You don't see very much of it, but once it breaks the buildings and horizon, you can see the long trail
hmm
going from it. I'm not sure if they're still launching much from the Kennedy Center. I know SpaceX has launched from different places. They've actually launched from Virginia down the Norfolk
Oh
area
yeah,
before.
yeah.
Um,
I heard that.
but there's a lot at the Kennedy Space Center Museum, so that's a good thing on there. Um, Also, you have a lot here. We talked about the mascot games. Um, if you've ever been to, there's a few across the country here called Medieval Times, which is a tournament on there, and you have the different aspect of that's where they do the jousting and all that type of stuff. While you have feasts, there's half dozen across the U.S., but the original one in the U.S. is down here in Orlando. So
If you have never been to medieval times, it's really a good time. It really is. They They're a whole immersion into that time frame, and it's fun because you actually get to eat with your hands. There's no silverware because there was no silverware back then. And to be honest with you, I have no idea where they get their chickens from. I really the chicken
we'll have chicken
the
is
chickens are
huge.
huge, 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 huge. I mean, they're like literally half a plate size. But it's good times, and um, I don't know if we're gonna be able to go this time.
I'm not sure. I got a couple other things planned
Oh,
for you here. So,
okay. Ooh,
but
surprise.
also Circus du
Circus
Soleil.
delay.
Yeah, they do different things all across the country. They have a regular thing set up here in Orlando too,
hmm
for shows. Disney Springs is a whole shopping district by Disney. They've got all the souvenir and top stores for you to spend
Oh,
all your money at.
we should have grabbed Dino and
Oh yeah.
Dino.
So there's Build a Bear. Danielle here has quite a few Build a Bears. They might make a debut on a separate channel later, but the unique one is at a T-Rex Experience, was one of the big restaurants down at Disney Springs. They have a Build-A-Bear inside, but it's Build a Dino.
Yep.
So you actually make dinosaur on there. So we got a couple of those for there.
And I got video of Brian filling his dino
on there. But yeah, there's all types of stuff there. Of course, they got Rainforest Cafe, and Rainforest Cafe is almost like a volcano coming out. So they go overboard. The nice thing though is it's not just shopping. They've got a stage where they got music act going. They've got a huge at the end of the night light show display showing like the Baby Yoda. I know it's not. I know his real name's not Baby Yoda. But I was still gonna call him Baby Yoda. But they have that. They've got the whole fairy godmothers and stuff like that, and on like a little light show that they do.
I'm gonna say this. If you get an opportunity, most definitely go down there during the evening, because the sunset at Disney Springs is very, very gorgeous. You know, we were inside Build a Dino a little too long, so we caught the tail end of it, but it was still gorgeous. It was very beautiful. And I mean, you know, always, if you ever get an opportunity, catch a sunrise, catch a sunset, because it's just, you know, it's one of the most picturesque scenes that you could ever. And
and they were wonderful last week when we were down at the Keys, but even up here, because at Disney Springs the actual sunset's over the lake, over the water.
Speaking of Key West, the Keys, we'll definitely have to make sure that next time we go back down there that we're down wherever they have the
the Sunset Festival.
The Sunset Festival.
Yeah, they actually do a festival every night from one of the parks. Apparently, it's a very good place to see the sunset.
Yeah, I think the next time we go down to the Keys, I think that's going to have to be like almost like a 2-week journey.
Probably.
Like maybe with you working 1 week and then whatever, and then maybe actually having a vacation.
And for those of you that like to get a little bit more active, they do have a zip line around here. You saw that. That's called Tree Trek Adventure. There's a couple other ones, but the big one is that. And then a unique way to kind of, you hear when we're younger the whole bar hop thing, but in order to attraction and sightsee hop, there's things you can do with Disney that don't actually even involve going in the park. You can actually take the monorail that goes between the parks. You can see a lot of the architecture and other design, and that's free to ride between. You gotta get your parking, wherever you're gonna park. But
of course,
you can ride the monorail to the different restaurant or the different resorts. It goes to the resorts as well as the theme parks. But you can ride it and see a lot. You can get. I remember when we were down last time we went to Disney, which was a few years ago, riding the monorail over to Epcot, and you've got a gorgeous shot of Epcot with the whole mall stuff like that from the monorail. So good sightseeing way to do that. Also, there's other entertainment centers. 2 of them. One is called Fun Spot. It's kind of like a carnival style look to it. A lot of the locals go to that as well. And then there's one, I forget the name of it. I have it written down here. Desertland, Dezerland, and that's a big entertainment area. They've got everything from indoor go-karts to arcade, laser tag, bowling, trampoline park, and they have an auto museum that has almost every famous car from the movies and one of the biggest collections from James Bond. They actually have something called a James Bond experience, type thing. Those are your restaurants and stuff in there too, but you have a lot of that.
There are no shortages of places to eat in this area.
And like I say, if you're more of an outdoor type, which a lot of us campers are, you can do airboat tours not too far from here. Also, there's kayaking. There's lakes and natural springs around Orlando. There's a lot of lakes around Orlando. It's not as many as Minnesota or wherever, Land of Lakes. But speaking of Land of Lakes, that is in Florida, here in the Orlando area. But there are a lot of lakes and other stuff that they do kayaking. There's national parks. One of the big ones for kayak, as far as the national park, is King's Landing. Is one of them that's really popular. You can go a couple places I've seen where there's ATV kind of stuff. So a lot of outdoor stuff. It's not just the theme parks out here. So
there is so much to do in Florida. We were discussing this on the way down to Key West, and then on our way from Key West up here, that there is so much to do down in Florida itself that you could have a totally different experience. Pick a different spot and just do different things in that area or that region. There's no shortages of things to do. One of the things that I want to do the next time we go down to Key West is they have a area called Theater at the Sea, and that was something I really, really wanted to do, but it was very difficult considering Brian was working most of that time, and then two, it rained like literally the first half of the time that we were down there. Of course, our goal was to make it down to Key West. So we got down there Wednesday during the afternoon so I can get my hair done. And shout out to Lady B 305. Hey. And then it rained a couple days after that, and then finally we made it down there Friday. Or no, we didn't make it down Friday. We made it down Saturday, Sunday, and then Monday for a couple of hours. So, but realistically, there's a lot of little tidbits down in Florida that if you get away from the main.
Yeah, and Orlando, yes, is very much a tourist area. Florida in general is tourist. They make up a lot of their income from tourism, but yeah, Orlando, because of theme parks, is very tourist. But there's a lot of other stuff. Speaking about tourist stuff, I found that they have something called the Corolla Experience, the 7,000 square foot interactive with the colors and stuff like that. You can have the bot make you into a cartoon and other little activity stuff. If you've ever been to some of those hands-on museum type things, it's kind of like that, but it's all done by Crayola colors.
Okay.
Top Golf, they've got a huge Top Golf down here. Of course, golf is very popular. The PGA is out of Orlando.
Golf in Florida?
Yeah.
Say it isn't so.
Yeah, the PGA is out of Florida overall on there.
Yeah, there's I think if you're coming in off of one of the main highways, they have the whole PGA big grassy thing, and then they even have the LPGA as well. So who knew golf was popular here in Florida?
And of course, you have escape rooms like everywhere. Those become
yes.
very popular. Can't get her to go into one of those. No. She's on the movie escape room, so
yeah, no,
can't get in there.
No.
But
have fun though.
You have unique experiences too. I saw something called Tank America, where you get to drive a tank.
Through, that would be fun.
Through the mud area, and of course, it's one of the only. There's a couple places like Vegas where you can drive a tank. This one's being advertised as after going through all the mud trails like that, you get to actually drive over and crush a car.
Oh, I want to do that.
So, and then there's different. Those of us military that want to try or want to have tried if you've never been military as well. There's some tactical simulation thing where you can go through like simulate, different buildings and respond and stuff like that. If you want to try your see if you've been good at a SWAT thing or something like that. That's a different attraction here called this Decision something. Yeah, Decision Tactical on there. And there's other like activities. There's a Central Rock Gym, which is actually a rock climbing gym, and I saw some pictures. They aren't just straight up. They got some that are like cliff type to climb and all that. For those of you that are more than beginner, I'd be in the beginner area myself.
Yeah. Not quite sure if my shoulder could handle that, but it would be fun to try. It really would. My shoulder is getting better, so that's kind of a good thing. But I definitely would try it. I
Yep.
would try it.
And they got Chocolate Kingdom, which is an interactive tour. Don't know how it would stand up to Hershey. We're fairly close to Pennsylvania and Hershey on there, which has its own tour, but be interesting maybe
Yeah.
on there. And like I said, with us being not that far from the coast, it's 45 minutes um, out to the Kennedy Space Center. A little further to Daytona, but Daytona, any race fans out there know the Daytona 500. You have the International Speedway. They do more than just the 500 there. They do all races all the time out there. And it's a big attraction for motorcycles, stuff like that at certain times of year. There's a lot of festival, if you will, that happens out of
Well,
Daytona at
yeah,
different times.
we weren't here, but we picked up Jennifer, and we just happened to stop in Indianapolis, and they were doing time trials.
Yeah.
So we had an opportunity to watch the time trials. That was actually kind of cool. I actually have my bestie. She is really huge into NASCAR. She runs out and goes and catches a couple of races up in Richmond and wherever else she goes to catch races. But yeah, she's really huge into NASCAR. So I'm sure she's been down here once or twice, maybe.
Probably, yeah,
So
definitely. Um, Unique things if you got kids or maybe you're into it. Not that far outside of Orlando is a place called Dinosaur Land. It's one of the only outdoor museum for the dinosaur stuff there. It's not just bones. I think they have um, model of what dinosaurs would actually look like and all that type of stuff on there.
Jurassic Park live.
There you go. Because that never turns out wrong, right? On there.
There's only what 5 or 6 movies that says that's a bad idea.
Now, one we didn't know about it at the time. Maybe you have kids that are interested. I know Jennifer would have been interested if we knew about it at the time, but there is a place out here called Elite Animation,
Oh
and
my
they
goodness.
actually have students. It's a regular school that you know college students stuff like that can sign up for, but they have a summer camp that's a week long, and apparently it's taught by animators that used to work for Disney as animators
Oh wow.
on there.
Yeah,
So
that is a pity because I know Jennifer would have loved that. Growing up, Jennifer was really into a lot of science.
and art, fun.
I actually thought she was going to get into astronomy way back when, and she was looking at some of the schools overseas. And had she got accepted, I definitely would have stepped up my getting my passport just so I could fly over to go see her. But she changed somewhere along the line. She changed careers and went the engineering route, which there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that.
And they have another kind of interactive thing down here called Immersive Van Gogh. And what it is you walk into different rooms and it's a Van Gogh painting, but instead of a painting, it's on the wall, ceiling, floor, the whole thing. So you're literally in the middle of one of
Huh.
his paintings, and they
I would
have
love to.
different rooms you go through.
I would like to see
On that.
that.
That sounds pretty cool. For me, I
Yeah,
saw a little picture online of that for us to check out.
I
But
definitely would like to see that. I've really gotten into art lately, so I really do appreciate. I have always appreciated art with my uncles being in being artists and things of that nature. So I always appreciated art. I've attempted my time at taking art history, but there's just so much of that that it's hard to for me anyway to keep track of it all. The century, the
and there's a lot of other shop areas as well. Where we talked about the Disney Springs is the big one. They also have the boardwalk area, Disney Boardwalk, which is more of a Atlantic City, Coney Island feel to it, but they have some shops there
Mhm.
and stuff going there. So there's all types of stuff you can do during the day. But for those of you that either want to go out without the kids or after the kids go to bed or something like that, the nightlife experience in Orlando is its own thing as well.
Oh
On
yeah,
there.
when as we were leaving Disney Springs the other night after we got our Build a Dinos, we saw like a ton of people dressed ready to
Hmm.
party. So it's like, ooh, party time.
Yep. You had one with birthday girl sash, but you
Yeah.
had others that were just dressed
Oh
up
my
to go
goodness,
out to.
it was so funny as we were leaving, literally leaving Disney Springs, getting ready to go up to the stairs to go to the garage. The security guard, I guess he saw the birthday girl, and so he got on his little mic and goes, "Happy birthday!" So that was kind of cool. So
So let's talk about nightlife for Orlando. There's several places. One of the places we will still get to, didn't get to last night, but I've been there before, is the City Walk at Universal. So Universal Studios, the parks, you have regular Universal Studio, you have Islands of Adventure. They're kind of separate from each other. The way you come in is you come into it and go through an area called City Walk. And Universal City Walk has a lot of outdoor entertainment going. It has all your foods, everywhere from fast food to
sit down.
restaurants. And it's got several, probably about 5 or 6 nightclubs that go on there as well.
Hmm.
So you have your nighttime experience as well. The good thing is we were summer, so going to a nightclub is not limited to Friday and Saturday.
Yeah.
So we will be going later as well to that. But they got all different themes. You got your disco type, you got your regular rock band, dueling piano, sorry, type thing.
I would love to
Um,
see that. That would be kind of fun to
they
see.
still have, from what I've heard, a karaoke bar. Of course, being Orlando and Universal, they take everything to the next level. This karaoke bar they have down there is actually live band plays behind you, so it's not just a little clip going, but you actually have band play and stuff like that, so you can live out your rock star, fantasy if that's what you want. I know you're over here smirking because she doesn't do karaoke
No.
on there, but that you have your regular dance clubs, you have everything from retro to new, and you have the stage shows there too. So you have people that will be playing and partying in the street and stuff like that, and it's all after you come through the gate to the whole Universal complex. So no problem walking around with your drink, any of that type of stuff, because you're technically in the park area, even though you aren't in Universal Park, or something like that
Yeah.
on there. They also have down here in Orlando. I haven't been to the one here. That's up on International Drive, but we've been to the one out in Vegas. There's an ice bar
Oh
here,
yes.
which if you've never been to an ice bar, that is so cool. Excuse the
Literally.
expression,
No
but
pun intended.
but the whole bar is made out of ice. Your cups and glasses and everything are ice. You put on a parka or whatever when you go in. Um, and you can actually drink ice cold drinks because everything's made out of ice
Yeah.
on there, and it's a unique experience. We first saw it, like I said, out in Vegas. There's a few of them in the U.S., not many, but Orlando's one of them that has it. There's lots of different, like I said, where I talked about Disney boardwalks, and that's more of a Coney Island 1920s feel. They have a couple places to party down there. They have a dueling pianos bar. That's their big highlight. They also have what they call Atlantic City Dance Hall, which is more retro in aspect. There's lots of nightclubs all over, and there's a lot of theme stuff. International Drive has a lot of stuff on it as well.
Oh yeah.
A big thing I've been seeing advertised recently down here too is the whole theme of speakeasies. So they've got a lot of theme bars from the 30s and speakeasy type stuff.
That would be fun.
Certain you've got to have your code to get into or whatever. There's one that's done as it's called the tree house, if you will. So the entry is kind of like branch like your tree house from when you were younger, that type of stuff. So lots of different things on there. Um, and then other activities you can do, not necessarily nightlife, but we talked about the farmers market. There is a Titanic experience. We went to that out in Pigeon Forge.
Hmm.
There's actually a full structure on it here. I'm not sure if this is a pop up here or if it's a normal thing, but different artifacts from that. Um, and they actually even have unique things. Always Google and look online. They have something called the Real Wrestling Experience.
Oh, good grief.
Anyone saw the movie Fighting with My Family, where she comes to get into wrestling and learn wrestling? they talk about in Florida. I believe that's this gym down here on that.
I'm sorry. Um, a couple just drove by in their golf cart, and the wife is sitting in the back seat, and the dog is sitting in the passenger seat.
That's where our pups would be if we drove with them on there.
I just thought that was funny, and it was a big dog too, not a small one.
Yeah. But what they do here is they'll actually have a trainer work with you and stuff like that, and you can um, learn a little bit about wrestling and stuff like that and everything if you wanted to on there. And finally, for here, you can get tickets to the theme parks. You will see advertised when you come down here all types of places that say, you know, Disney or Universal tickets, $39, $49. Be aware when you go there.
Yes, please.
Most of those are timeshare tours. May not all be. You can check in with it, but the way timeshare is really big in Florida, and yeah, one of the things those work is they say, oh, you do a 90-minute tour and you get this free gift or whatever. Um, we've done a few in the past. They're never 90 minutes. Um, if you do, and if it does work, some people it's great, some it's not. We actually have a timeshare through another company that we've utilized in the past.
Hmm.
But if it's for you, great. If it's not, that's great. But don't plan your day if you're going to do something like that on being gone 90 minutes.
No.
It's always with us taking half the day or 3/4 of the day
Yeah.
when we're doing that. So if you get out early, that's great, but plan on it taking up most of your day if you're going to do that, you know. But just realize that's what most of the discounts are is they're giving you something to come listen to their spiel and for them to try to sell you the timeshare. And like I said, I got nothing against timeshares. Just realize 90 minutes is not 90 minutes. 90 minutes is for them to give you their spiel. Then they're going to spend the next few hours trying to see if they can sell you or whatever, you know.
Convince
So
you.
just be aware of what you're getting into, and if you're aware of what you're getting into, and and you have your day pouring off for that, you are getting something for it because a Disney ticket instead of $39 is probably a couple hundred, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So just be
We've
aware of what you're
actually
getting into. If you're okay with that, there's nothing wrong with they're doing a business,
yeah,
but
we've been lucky.
they're
The
very big here in
when
Florida.
we have to upgrade or renew our ownership, we actually got tickets to Gordon Ramsay's restaurant. We just
Hmm.
happened to luck out, and we were there coincidentally during one of
Yeah.
our anniversaries, and so we got to have our anniversary dinner at the Gordon Ramsay's restaurant, which was very difficult to get into. But the hotel called and
Hmm.
found out, oh, there's 2 slots available. Yeah, we can get you in.
Yep.
So
And we've had bad experience as well. I know a lot of people have had bad experience with it. It's like some of them are like the car salesman trying to tell you anything you want to hear,
yeah,
to get this close the sale, high pressure type thing. But we've had some decent one. The one we're with now is I think fairly nice when we
yeah,
get to use it. We don't use it as much because we RV now. Um, but there's a lot of bad ones out there too. So those of you that are really against it because it's crooked, they're doing this, that, there are ones out there that are doing that. I won't disagree with you. There are some really bad ones out there, but there are some that are decent. If you do your research and you know what you're getting into, not a bad thing. But there are a lot of bad business practices happening out there as well. So just buyer beware,
yes,
if you go for something like that. But that's what most of those are. If you look into is if they're taking something that's normally $200 and giving it to you for $40, there's something they're wanting in return.
yeah,
So just be smart about it is all. But with that, Florida is gorgeous. Weather's been great here. You do get typically your afternoon rain. If you're going to travel, the big season here is when it's cold up north. So they do book up fairly early when you
yeah,
get into the winter. Um, but if you can stand the heat, it's not bad being here at this time. It's their off season. It is hot, but if you get somewhere where you got shade or you got other stuff, or you don't mind the heat as much, it's not as full. There were a lot of open slots. You might get a little better lines at some places because it is their off season. So,
And right now, today, it's actually not too bad. We got a little bit of overcast, but I mean, it's not too bad. So, I mean, it's really nice out.
no. And if you have questions about Orlando or camping or moving, we're doing our 2 months on the road live or full time. And so we're doing live stream from a few different areas. Next week is the 30th, I believe.
I think we'll be on our way
I
to
think we're going to be on our way
Oklahoma.
to Oklahoma.
So that'll be fun. Get to see my
I think
sister.
we pull in to Oklahoma on the 1st.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll be at one. I think we hit Alabama, then Arkansas,
Yeah.
then Oklahoma. So we're taking a night or a full day, so 2 nights as we go. So
Kind of give the pups a
we'll
little
let you
rest.
know how the rest of Florida went, and Alabama. And with that, getting ready for 4th of July in Oklahoma.
That'll be fun. That's going to be very interesting. I was in Oklahoma. I helped my sister move out to Oklahoma during the 4th, and the only thing I can say is if you are a combat vet, Mustang is not the place you want to be. It's definitely a lot of booms, but it'll be fun. My sister's been wanting us to come out for quite some time because she hears about us having fun down in Myrtle Beach when we go down there, and this will be interesting to see how Mr. Bryan handles and does his show. Um, we've actually been in situations visiting my bestie down in Conway where we've actually had dueling fireworks displays.
We'll have to see what we can afford. We've spent a little more
Yeah,
on this trip because we're going to tourist areas as well, and trying to get some vacation in while we're there. I'm trying to get at least a day or two when I can at the different areas other than just the weekend for us to actually do the touristy thing.
yeah.
But that can get expensive. If you're normally just RVing, you don't necessarily have to do the tourist thing everywhere. You can save a little more. But if you have questions about any of the places we've gone, this is our 3rd place in Florida. As we mentioned, we'll be going out to Oklahoma next, and then eventually we'll end up in Tennessee. Smoky Mountains, which is also a tourist area. But if you have questions, please leave in the comments. We'd be happy to answer anything for y'all. Not just about locations, but little hiccups or how we've handled things living on the road here. So, and working from different locations. Be happy to hear from you.